In a world full of distractions, there is one big question on every dog owner's lips.
How do I become more than just the person holding the other end of the leash?
We all get dogs with a dream in mind, a vision of the future. And if right now your everyday reality isn't quite that picture you had in mind, you are in the right place.
It really doesn't have to be this way.
You absolutely can and will be more to your dog than just the person who gets in between them and the world.
The key is you need to be more sexy.
More sexy than the neighbourhood cat.
More sexy than the jogger in the park.
More sexy than that half-eaten hamburger they just found on the floor.
And yes, even more sexy than the dog across the road.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Lauren.
Together we're Absolute Dogs.
And you're listening to the Sexier Than a Squirrel podcast.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Sexier Than a Squirrel podcast, and it is one that you are all going to want to listen to because it relates to your unpredictable dog.
Now, here, really, we have worked with unpredictable dogs at Absolute Dogs for a long time, right? We really have, and whether that's unpredictable in the sense of worried, anxious, barky, lungy,
Excitable,
very, very bouncy, maybe unpredictable in the sense that they don't come back, and when you let them off lead or you manage to lose their lead or let go of their lead, then they escape, they run away, and they don't really think twice about going. So actually, these dogs that are unpredictable, they can be difficult, they can be troublesome, they can make you feel a little bit down, can't they, Tom? They can make you feel a little bit worried, anxious that you maybe aren't a great owner. You can maybe feel inadequate. Maybe you feel like you're losing all hope.
Yeah, and so what we're dedicating this episode of the podcast to is actually those dogs where they maybe aren't doing so well with other dogs right now. Maybe it's unpredictable as to when they might struggle with another dog, and you're thinking, what do I do in this situation? We're going to give you our top tips, and we've created a very special ebook for you. It's an ebook dedicated...
I think we should just pause there. A very special ebook. I hope you are squealing and clapping with excitement, unless you're driving a car, and then we'd like you to keep your hands on the steering wheel.
And we are giving it to you to help you out, and it is...
Did you say giving?
Giving. And it's not... I say ebook... It's probably better to call it a playbook because it's full of games and strategies that you can use to take you from where you are right now with a dog who's maybe reactive to other dogs. Maybe you've just got a dog that's a little bit unpredictable with other dogs, to actually moving you back towards that dog owning dream. So the way that you can download that ebook, and it's got some of the things that we're going to talk about today, and we've included some bonuses in the podcast, so you're going to want to stay listening, is by going to Absolute Dogs, all one word, absolutedogs.me, that's M-E, absolutedogs.me/unpredictable.
Now, here's the thing. This can be shared with everyone. Literally, the world and his wife can absolutely have this. And so I'd like this to go viral. I'd like this to be in everybody's hands.
This
because
is information that needs to get out there.
Our mission to make sure that no dog or owner is ever lost, and that no dog or owner is ever feeling forced or deprived or, let's say, inadequate, because we know that these so-called unpredictable dogs can really end up sometimes in the wrong places or in the wrong hands or in the wrong training schools, simply because people do not know what to do with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so unpredictable dogs. Well, obviously there's going to be that full spectrum. We call them unpredictable dogs. It sounds like a bit of a label, but the reason why we're saying that to you is because often that's the label that gets put on them. Oh, they're unpredictable. Oh, they're difficult. Oh, they're really not good with other dogs. And what we want you to realize is that your dog knows how to communicate with other dogs, but they don't necessarily have the skills to deploy that conversation. And the best example is, we've all had these moments in life where you've gone to, I don't know, a party or a group or a club or a training class or whatever it might be.
To the club.
You know how to interact with people. You know the conversation starters, how the conversation should go. Maybe you should say hello, nice to meet you, that sort of thing. But when you're in unfamiliar surroundings, you maybe don't feel that confident, right?
you recoil. Maybe you don't bounce and say in the club.
No.
Like you maybe just sit in the corner like,
you maybe think,
awkward.
I know what I should do, but I don't have the skills to implement it right now.
You don't even want to go.
Yeah.
Because actually you maybe suddenly feel like a headache coming on, and this isn't a real thing, right? Like this is absolutely that you're not feeling great in this space.
Absolutely. And so what we've got to realize, guys, is that, any school of thought that says that we need to teach our dogs how to communicate with other dogs, that's totally flawed in that we as humans cannot teach them how to have that conversation. They know that conversation, but it's our job as humans to teach them the skills to be able to deploy that conversation. So what we need to do is grow their skills so that they can go out there in the world and have these amazing conversations. And the reason why we say this is because if we approach it like we need to teach them how to communicate with other dogs, what tends to happen is we think we need to socialize them.
And we think we need to take them up to the Labrador, the Golden Retriever, maybe a Schnauzer, a Poodle, a Boxer. To have that
conversation.
He must meet more black dogs. He needs to see more big dogs. He doesn't like small dogs. You know what? That is absolutely outdated as a way of thinking. I'm actually going to go and stick my neck out here and say this is just not the way to do it this year. This is just not. Like, we're so far beyond that now. And I think about years ago how I'd have trained or seen or understood that picture, and I think about where we are now. It's a completely different thought process that we're in.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what we want you to get excited about, I guess, is that really the work in improving your dog's behavior around and with other dogs, the work actually starts at home, in that you can teach your dog the skill of calmness. You can teach your dog the skill of maybe tolerance of frustration at times. You can teach your dog to have a dimmer switch in arousal levels rather than a light switch that's on or off.
You can teach flexibility. You can teach independence. You can teach so many of the concepts that will help your dog be less unpredictable and actually a little bit more resilient to everyday life. And I think these are things that we know that are going to be covered for you in the playbook. Now, just to recap, the playbook, Tom, everybody here can share the playbook.
Yep, you can share it.
You can pop it on your Facebook page. You can pop it on any of your social media. You can send it to friends. You can literally share the link, and Tom's got the link right now.
It is absolutedogs.me/unpredictable.
And the thing is, we know that all of the knowledge that we want you to have is really life-changing. It's life-changing for your dog. It's life-changing for you. It's also life-changing for your friends, your family, your neighbours, and anyone who surrounds your dog, because just like anything else, your dog will have an impact on things around them too, whether that's you and your husband, or whether that's your daughter, your son, mother, sister, brother. Like, your dog will have an impact because this is a relationship game, right? So unpredictable dogs, there is a ripple effect.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one skill that we really want to hone in on for this episode is that skill that we assume dogs to have, and yet most dogs don't have it naturally. And in fact, many dogs have been bred for many generations purposefully not to have it. And that is that skill of disengaging, that skill of moving on, that skill of leaving something. And I think often the reason why reactivity develops, a dog starts to become unpredictable, is because they engage in a conversation. They see that dog on the other side of the park. They run over to them. They have the conversation. At some point, they start to feel a little bit uncomfortable in the conversation, but they don't have the skill to leave. So what happens is this pressure cooker develops and there's an explosion. And then they start to predict that that interaction is not going to go so well, and they start to anticipate it. But the thing is that even though they know that interaction is not going to go well now because they've decided that, they still go over there and visit that other dog because they don't have the skill in them to leave that dog alone. And that's the skill of disengagement.
And that is actually crazy when you think about it like that. And I remember asking you this question a long time back and being like, God, it blows your brain, doesn't it? It blows your brain to think. And yet, if they had that skill, what a different picture we have.
Imagine going into every conversation or every, let's say we don't like the dentist. Okay, sorry, dentists, but let's say we don't like them. And I say to you, right, we're going to go to the dentist, but at any point, you can leave. At any point, you can jump out of that chair and you can go. You don't even have to say goodbye.
It's a very empowering feeling. I've done that as well. But it's a very empowering feeling where you know and I would say that is how I feel about most of life, really. Actually, I do feel confident in that you can just get disengaged and get out of Dodge if you want to. In fact, I'll see you later. No, you know what? It's really important that you know that is an empowering feeling.
And so what we've got to realize is disengagement isn't just a vital skill in that process. And we talk about this in the Unpredictable Dog Playbook that you can download at absolutedogs.me/unpredictable.
It is free.
But also what happens is that in your dog learning that they can disengage at any time, they get confidence because actually they can end this whenever they want to end it.
In fact, we were playing with the dog earlier and she disengaged from Tom, and then the interesting thing is, although they kind of end it, they also can then restart it. Yeah. And that's really powerful.
And she was like, I'm leaving. Okay, now I'm re-engaging. And then actively what I started to do is think, so she's feeling a bit of pressure. Well, how about I ask for a little bit of something and then I actively send her away to a piece of food. And then she's like, hold on a second, human, you've sent me away. I want to be back.
Come back now.
And you get this lovely conversation happening that's got balance between engaging in the conversation, but also disengaging. And I think often dogs, whether it be a result of your dog's reactivity is really driven by that emotion of fear or that emotion of frustration or that emotion of overexcitement, consistent across all of those scenarios is the inability to disengage or the lack of understanding that disengaging is what they need to do there. And so if you've got a dog that sees another dog and barks and lunges at them on the lead, they're engaging and they can't disengage. If you've got a dog that as soon as you let them off, they go and visit every dog in the park, that's them being unable to disengage. If you've got a dog that sees another dog and then runs all the way home, again, they're unable to disengage because disengagement isn't just about physically distancing yourself from something. It's about actively saying, I briefly engaged in that mentally, and now I am moving on.
Now, the playbook, it is literally something you are going to want to have at your disposal because it doesn't only cover disengagement, right, Tom?
Absolutely. And so, again, guys, the way that you can get that is by going to absolutedogs.me/unpredictable. But before you do, we've got something, a question, I guess, that we get asked so often.
Probably one of the most frequently asked questions.
Yeah. And that is that my dog is fine with most dogs, but maybe 10% of dogs that we encounter, and it's really difficult to know when it's going to be. They maybe snap, they maybe growl, they maybe bark, they maybe tell that other dog off.
Maybe it feels like I don't get any warning.
Yeah.
Like I don't know when this is going to happen. It feels like I don't know it's coming.
And the challenge is that we get asked this all the time is, what do I do? Because most dogs they're fine with. Well, we've got the answer, and that is that if you keep putting your dog in situations with other dogs when they're at that stage, what you'll get is that 10% will become 20%, will become 30%, will become 50%, will become 100% because of exactly what we talked about. Dogs start to anticipate and they want to avoid uncomfortable situations. So they start to predict and decide that's how the situation's going to go. And they make the situation that way a lot of the time. And so instead, what we're urging you all to do in answering that question is actually, let's think, my dog's not going to forget that conversation if, they don't have the conversation with another dog for a couple of weeks while I give them the skills. Let's go back to working at a distance. Let's download that ebook. Let's implement the strategies and let's make sure our dogs are fully armed to meet any and every dog when we next introduce them.
It's like rather than put a plaster on this or rather than keep putting plasters on this, let's actually strip it back and let's get our dogs really prepared for life and let's really prepare ourselves as well. So we're asking you to be your dog's very best advocate, to be your dog's very best sort of leader and carer, and actually to skill yourself up. And the cool thing is, it's called a playbook for a reason. It's called a playbook because it's absolute dogs. It's fun. It's fast. It's interesting. It's going to be colourful. It's going to be vibrant. It's going to be something you want to do. This is not something that's going to be a chore. This is going to be something you're excited to get your hands on. And the thing is, it's free. It's free.
And most importantly, you're going to get real life results as a result of that. We know that. And you guys know that because you hear from enough people that have had real life results. And we know it because, we've trained hundreds of thousands of people all over the world through this, transforming dog-dog reactivity. And we're excited for you to get the same results. So your next step is download that ebook, head to absolutedogs.me/unpredictable. We will see you in the next episode. And remember, stay sexy. Hey, before you go, have you taken part in the worldwide Sexier Than a Squirrel Challenge?
It's a 25-day online video program, huge energy, amazing community, and over 6,000 people are already taking part.
The only question is, where you are today, where do you want to be 25 days from now? Head to absolutedogs.me/sexy.